lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
Can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum. We are now live streaming, waiting for our people. Veronique, you got the comments, right? Waiting for our people, inshallah, to log on. I'm going over to my page, sorry. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My timely folks, please give salams. Assalamu alaikum. We're so happy to see you. I don't need to sing it. I know. That was annoying. Okay, mashallah, mashallah. All right, subhanallah. Okay, on my Facebook Live, Veronique, I don't know. I don't see you. Can you check on yours?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, on your Facebook Live, you can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bam. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Hey, welcome. Assalamu alaikum to the Dope Muslim Woman podcast. Okay, live episode event. We are so excited to talk about this. Y'all saw me going in on my live this morning, so I'm happy to see those that have joined in. We're going to introduce and open up. We like to be timely. But in the meantime, can you go ahead and share? And can someone be so kind to share on my page if you know how? You know, even I have a platform. I'm sometimes illiterate, but go ahead and do that. I would appreciate it. Welcome. Veronique, do we need to shout anybody out?
Yes, let's shout out Zahra. She said she's been waiting all day. We have Brother Daoud here. A lot of returners. So it's good to see you guys returning and joining us again.
Absolutely. Alhamdulillah. We're going to open up this podcast event. Looks like our train. And we're going to make sure we're going to, in advance, apologize for any technology issues over here. Everything is just always not agreeable, but we're going to make sure we work it out. All right. So alhamdulillah, we are going to introduce this in just a second. This is your girl. This is your host, Sabria Mills. Welcome. We're going to be talking about body awareness and sexual safety for our children and ourselves. I am joined by my lovely co-host, Veronique Cooper. Thank you so much for coming back. And by the way, Veronique is in a totally different state. She's still trying to soldier it out.
I'm in a whole different time zone.
I know. So she's still trying to soldier it out. So we're going to pray everything goes right on her end because she is not at home. So, okay. All right, now we're going to go ahead and introduce our lovely and beloved woman of the hour, Sister Sharia Schultz. Alhamdulillah. She is an educator. She has 20 plus years of teaching experience. She holds a master's degree in special education from Cheyney University of Pennsylvania with a minor in behavior modification, an early childhood certificate from Lincoln University, and a teacher of the handicapped teaching license. She's taught children, teens, and adults in classrooms, prison systems, hospitals, daycare centers, and private homes throughout Delaware, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Abu Dhabi. So she's, international. So she draws from her personal experiences. She has extensive professional training and classroom experiences. So Sharia passionately dedicates her time to teaching and talking about a topic that most people do not want to discuss, as I mentioned earlier, childhood sexual abuse. Sharia stands for justice and support for survivors, embodied in her Buddy Speaks, which is her nonprofit organization. She helps adults and children to become empowered, confident, and able to have open and honest discussions about what to do if the unthinkable happens. So we are really happy and humbled here to have Sharia Schultz. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I must also say that I am grateful and humbled for you allowing me to come on your platform and share information to help shed light to childhood sexual abuse prevention and how it affects the adult survivor. I thank you so much. It takes courage even for the person that is running the podcast to say, okay, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to bring someone on, because for so long we really, we want it to go away. We don't want to talk about it. If I post something about a beautiful outfit, everyone is on there. Everyone is, they're talking about it. They're liking it. But if we talk about sexual abuse, it's like, oh, that's dark. No, talk about that. I don't want to like that post because I don't want someone to think that I'm a survivor, or I don't want someone to think that my children are a victim, and then people ounce me. So by you shedding light, it's also helping with bringing awareness and prevention education. So I thank you for this opportunity.
I thank you for being here, Sister Sharia. I just gotta say this because every time I see you, sis, you got the colors coordinated. Can we just shout out Sister Sharia for that? But I don't, and I will be referencing this, but I do want to make sure that I just give a visual of Sister Sharia's book, because she's also an author. I didn't say that in my opening. But this book I have this for my kids. It's called My Voice is My Superpower. She'll give information about it. It is absolutely amazing. Okay, it is amazing. It is a book for us. I was just like, whoever did your graphics is incredible. But we're going to talk about this in a minute. So subhanAllah, thank you guys for being here. We're going to get right into this discussion. And like I said, and I mentioned in the live podcast, this is topics we just don't want to discuss. We don't feel comfortable. But and we're kind of giving the woman's lens a little bit today, but as a woman, it's just something that a lot of us carry as burdens, and we don't have the space always to comfortably discuss it openly and honestly. So thank you, Sharia, for being here. So let's just get right into it. So I wanted to just address a couple of things I researched on my own to get your perspective. And I do want to just preface this in saying that I know your scope is childhood sexual abuse. And so we're going to kind of tailor a lot of the informational components to that, but we will still talk about some statistics and information as to what's going on in society in general. So right now, the self-reported incidence of rape or sexual assault more than doubled from 1.4 victims per 1,000 persons aged 12 or older in 2017 to 2.7 in 2018, based on data from a survey that was done. It is estimated that over 734,000 people were raped, threatened, attempt, or complete, in the United States in 2018 alone. But not just that. There's a statistic, and I would love to get your feedback, that says 1 in every 5 girls is sexually assaulted before the age of 12, and 1 in every 12 boys before their 18th birthday. Have you found that statistic to be true, or is it a little off?
Well, the statistic that we speak about is it's 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls experience some form of childhood sexual abuse before the age of 18. That study was taken. There was a group of people that took the ACE test. And when they took the ACE test, it asked questions regarding childhood trauma. And with this study, it showed that out of everyone who took the studies, and it was thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and these were adults, 1 in 6 males and 1 in 4 females. Now, when you ask me, is that an accurate number? The numbers are much higher. Why are they much higher? It's because there's so many counts of sexual abuse that have not been reported. For example, me, I was sexually abused before I was the age of 10. It was not reported. I disclosed my abuse once when I was a child, but nothing was done about it. And I disclosed it again when I was an adult. So it may have been by that time, because I went to Women Organized Against Rape for support. But there's so many countless of people who have experienced abuse, and they didn't speak out and break their silence until they were 60 years of age, and they did not go to therapy. They did not report their abuse. So, the numbers are much greater. But just think about it, 1 in 6 and 1 in 4. So we're talking about out of 10 children that are in your family. Think about your child having a birthday party and 10 kids are there. 2 of the 10 children are going to experience, they have experienced some form of sexual abuse, whether it's non-contact, or whether it is with penetration, whether it's with pornography, whether it's with voyeurism. Some form of childhood sexual abuse have occurred before, out of 2 out of those 10 babies before 18 years of age.
Yeah, that's subhanAllah.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. So that just segues us into the next sort of question we have for you.
Okay.
So, sister, childhood sexual abuse is a topic that desperately needs to be, given attention in the Muslim community. Not enough people talk about it, of more than like a little whisper about it. While child sexual abuse and the secrecy around it is a universal problem, we want to focus on the trend of silence I've noticed around the issue in the Muslim community. Can you help us dissect the significance and the impact of shame and silence? Like, what are some ways we can work around this?
The ways that we can work around it, we as parents can become educated. we can become educated, and we can remove the darkness of it. You know, like as I tell people, yes, it's a scary subject. It's scary because we don't know about it. It's scary because we are not educated about it. So, you know, just like Chucky, I don't know how old you ladies are, but that was my, you know, when I was growing up, you know,
we rocked with Chucky, sis. Yeah.
Yes.
That was
we were scared of Jason. We were scared of Freddy Krueger, right? But if you watch that movie over and over again, it's no longer scary. You know what to expect, and it's like, oh, I'm not scared of that anymore. That's the same with childhood sexual abuse. And speaking about it, we have to become educated about the topic so that one, we can remove the shame. We need to remove the shame and remove the blame, and we have to sit in our discomfort so that we can become comfortable with it. Because you know what? Sexual abusers, they look forward to us being quiet, because if we're quiet about it, then they can manipulate our children. They can hurt our children. They can hurt our teens. Don't talk about it. Don't teach them the body safety rules. Don't talk about it. Don't speak about children being the boss of their bodies, children being able to decide who they want to show affection to. Don't talk about keeping secrets. Don't educate these children, because as long as you're quiet and you're not talking about it, they can continue to abuse our children, and our children can continue to be blamed and shamed by the sexual abusers themselves, because it's a very manipulative process that goes on called grooming, where they gain compliance from your child, they gain trust, and it's not like sexual violence where the man is hiding inside of the dark alley and he comes out and brutally rapes the women. Childhood sexual abuse is different, because they have to gain trust. They have to have trust from the parent, trust from the child. They have to have, you know, opportunities to be alone with your child. They are an authority figure, and they strategically choose the child to abuse because they know this child does not know the body safety rules. This child does, parents have not taught them the things that they need to know so that they can speak out. Because if they come to your child and they tell your child, oh, I'm gonna give you this candy, but don't tell us our secret, don't tell your mom and your mother's, and they say, what? We don't keep secrets in my house. That's against the rules. That sexual abuser will go to someone else because they don't want to get caught. And there's so many children that they can harm that don't know. So, you know, we in the Muslim community, we have to speak out about it.
Yeah.
Actually asked to, I had a leader want to silence me.
A religious leader? I wonder why.
You know, and they said, let the authority, let the people of authority, let the imams talk about this. Why is she talking about this anyway? Well, not
when are they going to do that? I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off, sis.
No, I'm okay. I do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, when are they going to talk about it? I mean,
I'm still waiting for it. I'm still waiting for it. How about the imam come and invite me? You know, Women Organized Against Rape, they said, we want to work with you. We want to partner with you so that we can help the Muslim community, because we have Muslims in here, but we can't help them because of the barrier of, oh no, you're not Muslim, so I don't want to talk to you. But guess what? You need to talk to someone. You need to get help. Religion is not brought up, and religion is not brought up when we talk about prevention education. And our religious leaders, our imams, there's imams that are raping the children. There's imams that are raping the, there's imams that are they're doing raping the wives and saying, you can't say no to me because it's my right. You know, there's women, there's females that are raping children, and they're Muslim. There's female babysitters, there's female nannies. It's definitely affecting our Muslim community. There's female and male older teens that are raping younger children. We can't act like it doesn't affect our community. We have to be vigilant. You know, we have to speak about it. You know, platforms like yours, we're breaking down barriers. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. You know, that was so powerful, Cherie, on so many levels, especially the aspect of when you talked about the shame, because I remember like sex was just a bad word, you know, like kind of back in the day, you know, in a lot of Black homes, sex in any way was a bad word. And then just the shaming of our girls and just how we raised our, and you know, I understand, I want to just acknowledge this because I got checked a lot earlier. We know that it happens equally to girls and boys. So
Right.
I'm not diminishing that. And I know your book speaks powerful to that. So, but I'm only speaking from my scope of experience for a second. So
Yes,
just the silencing and the conditioning that we experienced and had to endure of being good girls, right? Good girls. And that's another issue, right, sis? That speaks to the silence because we're supposed to be agreeable, right? We're supposed to be agreeable and complacent. Go ahead, sis. Yeah.
and that's so interesting that you said that, because I made a post yesterday about the same exact thing. You know, when you teach your child, you have to follow authority. You have to be the good student. You have to be the perfect. When you send them off to school and say, you better listen, be a good girl, listen to your teacher, listen to the, so then the child feels like, I have to be compliant. I have to listen. I have to be a good girl. I have to, instead of teaching the child, when you go to school, be safe. Have an amazing day. And when they're coming home, you know, check in with them. So yes, exactly what you said.
Yeah,
you have to be good. You have to listen. So then we're taking their authority away from them. We're taking away their power. We have to empower our children to let them know that you can say no. You can say no respectfully. No, thank you. You don't. And we also need to know and understand as parents that when you have a child that wants to constantly be compliant and the perfect child, and you know their behaviors change, that's a sign of trauma too. That is a sign of
okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying a child that's very agreeable, or if they, are you saying if they're naturally that way, or if they shift to being agreeable, it's a sign?
That can be a sign if they shift to, and I'm not saying that all children, because you know you have children that want to naturally follow the rules and do the right thing because they don't want to be punished, you know, and it's just like, oh, wait a minute, I saw my sister get a beating, I don't want that, so I'm just going to follow the rules. But when you see a shift in the behavior, that's one of the signs that the child is always compliant. We call it the fawning response, because you know we have the fight, flight, freeze, and fawning. And fawning is people pleasing, because if I'm people pleasing, and you know it affects adults too. If I'm people pleasing, then I'm safe. If I do what you tell me to do, then you won't abuse me, you won't hurt me. So that's one of the shifts that happens if you think about
it. That is powerful, Sharia. I wanted to take a pause, Verity. Is there, just check in with the audience, because I told them I wanted it to be very interactive. Do we have any questions?
They're just like really not any questions, more agreeing and just really being wowed at all this information. I think a lot of times we don't talk about it. So hearing all of it is very surprising. And somebody said, let the imam speak out about it gives energy to the abuse of the most vulnerable people in our communities. We have an obligation to protect our children. And that is completely, a lot of people feel like Islam is perfect, and we're supposed to be perfect too, but these are real humans out here, and this is real stuff happening in our communities. It's very important that we talk to our children. It's real.
It's so real. And just because you're an imam doesn't qualify you to speak about sexual abuse awareness. You're qualified to give a khutbah based on the Quran and the Sunnah. You can address it from the minbar, but to give a class, you're not qualified because you're an imam.
Exactly.
This doesn't qualify you.
Blanket. Don't we have that blanket sort of perception that imam, they're therapists, they're counselors,
they take care of all of it.
I don't know. You
trained. Yeah, you have to be trained. Now, sis, I wanted to talk about something because you mentioned it, and it's a sensitive topic to me. But as a woman, I was talking about this earlier about the need and the desire. As women, we innately desire safety, right? So when we're looking for mates and stuff, we always say that I feel safe with you, right? That we won't proceed with the brother if we don't feel safe. Yes. So the desire to feel safe is innately within us. And, you're talking a little bit about, you kind of almost hinted on spiritual abuse, essentially. But I know, like you said, abusive leaders towards children. We know there's a lot of situations as well when, it's sort of women are exploited in the offices of the imams and the religious leaders as well. I just wanted to us talk through and I know you're a survivor of sexual abuse. Yes. Sexual trauma, subhanAllah. As a woman, as a woman that is now trying to navigate life and sort of try to identify what she's seeing out there, what are some ways in which maybe even you that you stay safe in the presence and company of men or women, what are some ways, are there things that you look out for? Is there, I just, can you talk me through some things that you do yourself to stay safe?
One, I pay attention to my body. I listen to my body, and it's so funny that you're saying that, because right now, as you mentioned, that my body started just triggering just a little bit. So I'm, using some skills to let my body know, no, you're safe. She's only asking you a question about what can you do to feel safe. You're not raped anymore. No one is hurting you. No one is abusing you. You're safe. But, making sure that you understand, let's just even talk about a wife, let's talk about you're already married, and understanding, because we know in Islam, the man has the right to sexual pleasure, whenever he wants it, and your woman can't deny him. But how do you stay safe in your marriage as a Muslim? If you and your husband have an argument, and that argument is not, and you're arguing, he's yelling, he leaves, and he comes back, and he wants his rights, you don't have to give him his rights right away. You don't have to do that. Muslim women don't know that. They don't understand that. There was a time when I didn't know it. I'm not going to lie. I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want the angels to curse me because I denied my husband. I have to give him his rights. But the Quran says that you can't be mean to your wife and then come back to her and demand sexual intercourse from her. You don't have that right. You have to come back. You have to settle it. You have to, be gentle with her, and then you can have your rights. So as a Muslim wife, we need to know that. We need to understand that. We think, Allah is just. Allah is.
Yeah, He really is.
SubhanAllah. So let your husband be so mean to you, and then come and just have sex with you, take his rights from you without reconciling, without there being some comfort, without there being some ease, So that's one thing I had to speak about as a Muslim wife, as a woman, because those things do happen. And it happens in our community so often, unfortunately.
Do you hear a lot of cases? I'm sorry to hijack. This is like super interesting to me. But do you hear a lot of cases of wives being raped? Or I know in your position that are people typically approaching you with this type of?
People don't typically approach me with this because my platform focuses on the child and supporting the parent and supporting the survivor. So most people that I do in fact talk to, they are adult survivors, and I'm the first person that they ever spoke to. But sometimes, because as a childhood sexual abuse survivor, you don't learn boundaries. You don't know how to establish boundaries. You become a victim of sexual violence again, or you become a victim of childhood sexual abuse again, because you don't know how to establish those boundaries. So when you ask about that question, how do you protect yourself? Learning how to establish boundaries, and knowing that you're in charge of your body, that you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. Paying attention to your body. If it doesn't feel safe, then stay far away from it. Knowing and understanding that you don't have to use your body as a sex tool to please somebody and make them, want to stay with you. Being mindful of who you're talking to, being alone with people, you have to be very careful about that. You have to be extremely careful. But, because sexual violence is real. I was raped as a child, but I was also raped as a teen. And I didn't tell because I was afraid. I was afraid my mother was going to get upset with me because she told me, come straight. My aunt told me, come straight home. But the guy said, I need to go to the bathroom. Just come in my house for 1 second. Because he already had in his mind what he was going to do to me. And then when it was time for me to go home, and I ripped my clothes off when I went home, and I went and I ran home, and because it wasn't too far from where I lived, and I ripped my clothes off, and I got in the shower, and I just scrubbed my skin off, and I just cried in the shower, and then that was my secret. And my mother, actually, she did not know about it until maybe a year ago. So knowing your rights, knowing and understanding what sexual abuse is, what sexual violence is, knowing, paying attention to your body, paying attention to triggers, educating yourself. That's so important. That's very, very important. And not going somewhere with a stranger. And even as adults, you don't have to send someone nude pictures, no matter what kind of pressure they put on you, no matter what you've experienced.
We didn't talk about that. I don't mean that. I know this is serious, but we did bring that up in another episode, sis, with sister. There's a lot of exchanging of nude pictures that's happening on social media. And when we kind of get married, we're sending nude pictures. So yeah, but thank you, sister, for speaking on that. I'm sorry, finish.
You're welcome. No, it's fine. That's fine. I like this type of dialogue because I communicate that way too. My brain gets to moving, and I might cut someone off. It drives you crazy, but I keep going on. So you're just fine. Yes. So those are some of the things that we can do to help, and understanding that I teach children they're the boss of their bodies. Teach adult women that too. You're the boss of your body, even if you're married. Even if you're married, your voice is power. You can speak out. You can say no. And if someone does assault you, whether it's your husband or your father or your uncle, speak out and tell. You do not have to stay quiet. You do not owe that man that. That's not what the law says.
Subhanallah. Veronique, I know you have. Do you have something from the comments?
Yeah, we have a couple questions, and it's very surprising they're questions from brothers, so it's very interesting.
Sure.
A brother says, how does one overcome the abuse as an adult, and how do we protect our children?
Okay, so there's a lot of steps to overcoming abuse as an adult, and it's a lifelong process. The first thing is when you open your mouth and you disclose your abuse in a safe space, that's the beginning of your healing. That is the very beginning, because now you're breaking your silence and you're letting it be known. I always highly recommend therapy. Therapy is so important because it gives you a safe space to go so that you can help reestablish your self-esteem that was taken away from you, help to learn how to establish boundaries, help to know and understand your emotions that's triggered as a result of you being a victim of sexual abuse, help you to know and understand why you're angry or why you're sad. Why do I allow these things to happen to me? Of course, spirituality helps you with dealing with your abuse, so we have and movement, the physical component, some form of exercise, journaling is a good part, joining a support group, and going to professionals, and understanding that, reading books that help you to rid your shame, to rid your guilt, to rid your blame, connecting with people that may have been abused so that y'all can all heal together, because what you don't want to do is carry this burden around for the rest of your life by yourself and not have any healing because you're so angry, and you say, wow, why is this little girl so angry? Why is this woman so angry? Why is she so combative? Or why does she let people bully her? Why does she keep marrying abusive men? What happened to her as child? Because why is she in 6 and 7 married 4 and 5 and 6 times? Something must be going on. She's a good girl. Why does she keep picking these bad men or having these bad relationships? It probably stems back to some form of childhood adverse trauma.
Wow.
And as far as protecting your children, as you said, my book is a beginning. It's a start, using my book as a way to start the conversation. It starts the conversation, and it's with my book, it doesn't focus so much on sexual abuse. It focuses on prevention, the body safety rules. So if you know the body safety rules and you're constantly talking about this with your children, and the book isn't a one and done. You use it as a teaching tool, and you're constantly talking to your children about it, constantly talking to them about, I am the boss of my body belongs to me. I can say no, I can say stop, I don't have to hug anyone. If I don't want to, I don't have to show any form of affection. Teaching your children that they don't have to keep secrets. Secrets are a no-no. Teaching your children what their the proper names of their private part. Don't tell them they have a cookie, a wee-wee, a little man, no, you don't have that. You have a vagina.
Sorry, Sheree, I don't want to cut you up, but I'm just saying, women reference their stuff as cookies too. You don't encourage that as well, right?
No, we don't encourage it. We teach our children, when you teach them, this is my eyes, my nose, my mouth, my ears, you teach them that too. Why is that so important? Because it makes the child comfortable with talking about sexual abuse prevention. It helps them with disclosure. If in fact someone does touch them and that person doesn't know the nickname of their private part. So if there was a story about a 5-year-old girl who was I think she was 5 or 4, and she was being abused, and she would go to school every day and say, "He licked my cookie, he licked my cookie, he licked my cookie." The teacher didn't catch it. She didn't know because she's just thinking, okay, he ate your cookie. You're really upset about it. Where the child was in fact saying that he performed oral sex on me, on my private area. So if parents, when we teach them the names of their private area, we don't make a face, we don't be uncomfortable. It's just a matter of fact. You have a penis, you have a vagina, you have testicles, you have scrotum. Girls have a chest, these are nipples, they become breasts. So that if someone tries to touch them, they can come and tell you, he touched my breast, he touched my behind, he touched my penis, she touched my penis. And it's just natural. There's no need to teach them a private part. It's a nickname. There's no need for us to be ashamed of our private area. It's a part of the body. It's not nasty. It's not disgusting. It's just your body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just say I appreciate you for saying that, because I'm a mother of boys, and I had this this moment where I didn't know how to teach them about, because I don't have this, so I don't know what word do I use? Am I specific? What is the best method of telling them about their body? So I really appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I'm glad that I was able to share that with you. And that's a part of the body safety rules, teaching the children the proper names of their private parts.
Absolutely. SubhanAllah. Sister, do you want to bring in another question? I wanted to ask, while she's looking at that, I wanted to just kind of circle back just with some dialogue around just surviving it. You mentioned the marriage and the relationships. You mentioned the patterns that we see from unhealed wounds from sexual childhood abuse. I asked this question, and I wanted to ask again, what does it sometimes look like in a relationship? Because I know we know so many of us that may, like I said, have had that trauma, never dealt with it, silenced around it, never went to therapy, never healed, go get in a whole relationship with a whole man or a whole woman, and then not understand why you have these triggers. What are some ways that, first of all, we can navigate? You have some tips of how we can even navigate as a trauma survivor in our relationships with the opposite gender, and maybe even start recognizing our triggers?
Well, the first thing we need to do is understand and face our trauma head on. Understand how our trauma shows back up in our marriages, in our relationships. Because even with me, with the work that I've done, and it was, with my therapist and just within myself, I have, so many amazing books, The Courage to Heal, the Mindful Self-Compassion Workbook, and my journal, constantly just working on myself, is understanding, how does my trauma affect me? Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that. Why am I making these decisions? Why am I accepting this type of behavior? And that's the first thing, understand, because trauma shows up different for every single person. Not one person's trauma affects them the same way, but there are like behaviors. So, it's so important to learn boundaries. How does it show up? It shows up with the type of people we choose to marry. It does. It really does.
Yeah, that part. Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately, it shows up with accepting abuse and being afraid to walk away for fear of abandonment. I'm not going to walk away from this type of relationship because I might be a bad person and I don't want to be bad. I don't want to feel bad. I don't have the right to be treated well because I experienced this abuse as a child and I wasn't not treated well. So this is what I deserve. This is what I deserve. But that's not what you deserve. You didn't deserve what happened to you. Not forgiving yourself, not practicing self-compassion, And I was talking to my children the other day because as I said, I'm working through this journal and I'm working through it with my children. And a lot of times, most times, victims of childhood sexual abuse and sexual violence, they blame themselves. It's my fault. And the perpetrator blames them and say, it's your fault. You deserved it because they manipulate the child for so long. So, being compassionate towards yourself, where if you have made a decision that has affected you and it wasn't a positive decision, but you thought it was, you're saying, I'm so stupid, I'm so dumb. Why did I stay in this marriage for so long? Why did I choose him? Why didn't I pay attention to the red flags? Why didn't I set up boundaries? Well, think about it. Would you say that to your best friend? Or would you say that to your sister? If your sister came and told you, I married this guy and he's been pretty mean to me and I can't leave him. I didn't leave him. And I feel so dumb. Would you say, yeah, you're dumb? Or would you say, oh, don't worry about it. We understand. You've been through a lot. Forgive yourself. It's okay. I support you. Well, you have to do that as a survivor for your own self. Be compassionate with yourself. Learn and understand that you deserve to be treated well. That you're not the victim anymore. You're not that same child or that woman who has been abused. You have a voice. Your body belongs to you. You don't have to accept any type of bad treatment at all. It shows up with the way that you parent. Sometimes we have the parent that's so overprotective and don't want to let the child go anywhere because I've experienced abuse. My child can't go anywhere. My child can't be around anyone. So protective to a fault.
Yeah.
You have to educate your children. You have to empower your children. You have to give them the tools, but you do have to let them go just a little bit because now they're living in society scared, worried, concerned, and not empowered because of
Yeah.
your trauma shows up with some people. Honestly, their trauma shows up with self-harm. They self-harm. You'll see many adults that have so many tattoos, and and you're like, where does that come from? Because if I get it every time I'm hurting, or I relive that pain, or I relive that moment, or I smell something that reminds me of my abuser, or I see something that reminds me of my abuser, or I hear something that reminds me of my abuser, I want that pain to go away. I'd rather feel this type of pain than to experience that type of pain. So some people, they self-harm by cutting. Teenagers, children, they cut by cutting themselves, by punching themselves, or I'm going to go get a new tattoo. I'm going to go get a new piercing. I guarantee you, if you have someone that you're close to that have tons of tattoos, and you ask them, have you ever experienced any type of childhood trauma? I guarantee you they're going to say yeah, because that's the way they cope with their trauma. It's a very painful experience.
Wow. SubhanAllah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I wanted to
Let's breathe for a moment.
Yeah, we need a prayer. I wanted to ask though, because I'm sure you don't have to share your personal experience, but I'm sure as you became self-aware, you may have had to, give some guidance to maybe your spouse or your husband. I'm wondering, what are some things even for, let's just speak in the lens of a brother that perhaps is married to a sister that is a survivor of childhood abuse or childhood sexual violence. What are some ways that he can perhaps navigate it? Because some of the brothers are saying like, whoa, we don't even know what's going on. We don't know, understand these triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that because my very first program I had 2 years ago in December, I had a group of panelists, and one of the women on my panel, she's a survivor and she's married, and she had to teach her husband how to deal with her, intimately, how to deal with her and understand her as a survivor. And it takes one, you have to trust your mate. You have to trust your mate with your trauma so that they are not going to throw it in your face and say, trauma, trauma, trauma. That's all you talk about is trauma. Everything is a trigger. Everything is a trigger. Trauma, trauma, trauma. But it is. It is trauma. It is real. It is a trigger. So, the wife can talk to the husband even when we're talking about, because we're adults here and we're talking about marriage intimately, she can say to him, don't approach me in a rough way because I was raped before. So my body will respond as if I'm not safe and I won't enjoy intimacy with you. So please just be gentle. Just be gentle with me when we start off because I'm a rape survivor. And the brother has to understand that. I believe that the brother has to understand his wife and understand her intimately because he may touch her a certain way and it may trigger her. He may touch her a certain way and he doesn't even know. He doesn't have a clue, but it may be the way that that person touched her. And, if she says to him, please don't wear those kind of underwear. And, let him understand because the person that raped me had on those kind of underwear. And it reminds me of him, help me to work through that. Or don't get upset if I say that I'm tired and I don't want to. Don't get mad at me and make me feel like I don't have a choice because now I'm feeling like I don't have a voice and I might feel the same way I felt when I was being raped. These are real life conversations that we have to have. And same with brothers because there's boys that will rape and they become men. And women need to understand if it may show up with a man where he's hypersexual. It shows up with a woman where she's hypersexual. The man may not feel like it, and understanding why they don't want to, or understanding that the man may not want to perform this particular type of way because of the trauma that they've experienced, or they may like a certain act that's permissible, but they may want you to do something. They may want you to touch them a certain way where you as a woman might give them side eye like, what? You want me to? But because of their trauma, they may like it. And if it's permissible, understand. We have to be patient with each other. We have to be understanding. We have to be kind. And you have to create a safe space for your mate to share that information. Because if I'm trusting you with my trauma, the last thing you should do is throw in my face trauma, because you're making me feel like it's not significant. You're making me feel like I am not worthy of kindness, and you're not safe for me.
Yeah, and that's a big
thing.
And I think that's why, yes, it does. And that's a lot of women choose to not say anything because they don't want it used against them. They don't want, it thrown in their face. And you're right, it has to be about trust. Veronique, is there anything we want to pull in from the conversation in regards to this?
So, is she frozen? So
bit.
we have a question about the education side, how Islamic schools should deal with this. Should there be classes? Should we be bringing in professionals to talk to the children at the Islamic schools? Because, it's very important. So what do you think, we should be doing as far as the education system Islamically?
Absolutely. We should definitely have body safety. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, actually we should. We should have this education in the Muslim community. We think because we're Muslims, we don't have to talk about it. We think because we're Muslims that our children aren't being affected, or we're not going to bring the kuffar, we're not going to bring the non-Muslim in to talk about our children. Well, how many Muslims professionals do we have to teach cognitive trauma-based therapy? How many Muslim professionals do we have to teach body safety education? How many Muslim professionals do we have to talk about this subject that no one wants to talk about? I do a lot of my work in the city of Philadelphia. I have one school, NSA, Multicultural Academy, who welcomed my program, purchased books for all of the students, although we had the pandemic, so we had to stop. But I have trained their teachers on how do you respond to a student in your class who may have experienced trauma, because the owner, Dr. Nikita Shosakmed, she said, I want to help these kids because these kids in my school have experienced this trauma. Whatever it is that you have to offer, I'm here. She actually just reached out to me not long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and said, let's get some things done. I'm ready. I'm opening back up my doors. And I said, I want to have a support group for parents for parents of survivors, and for Muslim survivors, a support group where they can come. We can start with once a month, and provide a safe space, because when a parent is supporting their child, a parent lives with a lot of shame and a lot of blame, and they feel like, why didn't I protect my child? So yes, we need, my book should be in every Muslim school. It should be in every Muslim daycare. My book provides representation for the Muslim community. I have a picture of a Muslim woman inside of the book, a Muslim woman, an African American Muslim. It can be, look at that. And I said I wanted a book that represents the Black community, represents our face, our color, and for the Muslims, so that you can say, oh, I don't want this. This isn't for us. Now that we have it for us, support the cause, protect your children. $17.99. It's less than paying for co-pays and gas money to take your child. And it's so important. This is affecting our community. I've had, within the past 2 weeks, 4 different people contact me regarding their child disclosing abuse in the past 2 weeks. 2 in 1 week and 2 in the following week. Muslim.
That's the thing. It's happening right here in our communities. I wanted to just go back to something that you said, because I think it's a very important tip. And we're talking about this idea of body awareness and being aware of our own bodies, what feels safe and what doesn't feel safe. Would you recommend us, maybe even prior to marriage, because some of the, due to people's traumas, there could be, sexual expectations that may or may not be healthy, or may not be okay to the spouse. Do you recommend these conversations happen prior to marriage between the man and the woman? Perhaps, of course, probably with some type of third party now. I want y'all to have conversations now. But like about, okay, not even necessarily the trauma that, that may come with trust, but even just sexual preferences, or do you have that recommendation or no?
I definitely recommend it. I think I know that it's very important. It's a very important topic to discuss. Some people may, they wait until the wedding night to talk about it, but we're adults here, and we have to have these type of healthy conversations. That's why Dr. Shakira, she has an organization where she talks about it with the teens, though. I forget what. Yeah,
I've heard of her. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and she's going to teach parents how to have the conversations with their children. So if I have these conversations with my teenagers, when it's time to get married, they'll feel comfortable having these conversations with their future mates. And we as adults can have these conversations so that we can protect ourselves. We can protect ourselves from any, and find out what's the man idea of, when Allah says that your wife will be cursed if she doesn't have sex with you. What does that mean? The what if scenarios, even for adults. What if we get into an argument and you leave, and then you come back later on that night and we haven't talked or communicated, and you tell me, you want your rights, and I say I don't want to. How would you feel about that? We have to discuss those type of scenarios. They're so important in our process, because so many men don't know and so many women don't know.
Wow. Yeah. And that's I guess an uncomfortable question to have, but I see why that's so important. How does that person respond to that? Because if he just says, "It's my right, sis," then it's red flag, right? Yeah. Is that a red flag?
Okay. A red flag that he has not been educated.
Okay.
But he needs to know, he needs to know and understand that you can't, that's not what Allah says. Allah is kind, Allah is just, He is El Adil. And because especially for a survivor, it feels like you're being raped all over again. It does.
What about this hadith, Sharia? I don't know if it has been brought up, the hadith about, even if he approaches you in the kitchen while you're at the stove, or have you heard that one? Because I've heard that one.
Okay. Right. And like I said, he does have the right to sexual gratification, but not if he's mean, not if you argue, not if he left and was being tyrannical, and then he came back, it doesn't fall under that umbrella. But if he's, he comes in and y'all are happy, lovey-dovey, and you're baking some bread in the oven. He said, babe, turn that oven off. Come here, give me some, let me love you. Then you love him back,
Okay, gotcha.
Like, well, no, I just got my hair done. Like, what are you doing?
Okay, so love and kindness. Okay, got you. All right, yeah, we getting juicy here. Any other comments? I see that there's a lot of conversations. Berenice, do you have anything from the kid that titled?
Yeah, we have a question about how do we protect our children from the online abuse?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's
a big one because social media is so big.
Social media is so big, and it's happening. I posted something because every day I try to post a tip and I post awareness, and my heart was so broken when I posted this last one because it was a video about a woman who was it was from CBS, and she was talking about a sexual predator who pretended they were a child, and they kept asking her for pictures, and they kept asking for pictures over and over again, and not too many people clicked that they liked it. Not too many people wanted to talk about it, but the reality is this is in fact happening. It's happening with our children. Even with my own child, he came to me one day and he said, Mom, because we have these conversations so often, sometimes I had to brace myself when that mom comes. I'm like, hey, get ready. Don't change your facial expression, because I want them to continue to, and that's something parents you have to be mindful of when your child comes and tell you something. Don't change your facial expression, because they'll immediately shut down. They think that they're in trouble, especially if they comply because they didn't know. So then you never want them to feel bad. So he said, Mom, and I said, yes. And I'm saying, oh God. And he said, this girl, she came to me and she asked me to send her a picture. So he was all happy and excited because he likes girls or whatever, He's 13 and he likes girls. He wants somebody to like him. Yeah. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, Mom. He said, so I sent her this picture. I said, okay. And she said, I don't want that picture. He said, so then I sent her that picture. I said, oh, that's a cute picture. She said, I don't want that one either. So he said, now when I got to the third, and I said, well, what's wrong with these? And she said, I want a picture of your penis. And he said, what? Like, oh no, I'm so happy he feels disgusted right now. And he said, I'm not sending you a picture of my penis. What's wrong with you? And he said, after that, Mom, she blocked me. Yes. And I said, but he's like, I'm not doing that. We're not supposed to do that. He said, then she disappeared and she blocked me. And I said, do you think she was even your age? I said, that could have been an adult. That could have been a man asking you for pictures. That could have been a woman. They could just pretend they're an adult and they're not really children. And they're looking online for children like you to see, if you're vulnerable, to see if if you're going to send the pictures. And I asked my daughter, I said, has anyone asked you to send them any pictures lately? Any strangers pop up on your page on TikTok or, because this is their life.
Yeah,
the children, they're not like we were when we were growing up. And even with the millennials, I don't think that they were into the internet as much, but these generation, what are they, Generation Z's? That's their life. Mm-hmm. They weren't worried about the pandemic because all they do is sit on group chat. Mm-hmm. And she said, yeah, Mom, they asked me, but I just ignore them. So I said, oh, well, we need to have further conversations because, that's not just the solution. I ignore them. So the way that we can help our children is talking about online safety, talking about, how sexual predators, how they groom you online, because they're coming in a way where they're your friend and they're getting to know you. They're getting to know you, getting to know what you like, getting to know what you don't like, and pretending that they're your friend. Paying attention to your children's web browser. not allowing your children to have their phones in their room late at night. You know, there was a time where my child would go in the bathroom with his phone all the time, and he didn't at one time. And I said, "What's going on?" And if you see something, speak about it, but not in a way where you make your child feel defensive or feel like they did something wrong. So, you know, checking your child's phone. I was at a conference with the FBI, and these are some of the same exact advice that the FBI gave. Do not give your children their phones at night. Let their phones stay in your room, because that's when the predators. That's when they are lurking and looking for them. If your child has a Zoom conference, make sure that there's a password so that, you know, because the sexual predators, they're coming online and they're getting in the Zoom chats. So make sure that there's always a password. If any of your children had any education with Zoom, I'm sure that you can see that their teachers may have sent the password. That's the reason why your children. And constantly have what if scenarios, what if conversations with your children regarding what happens if you're online. You know, check these sites, these porn sites. Talk to your children about pornography and, you know, the dangers of it, because, you know, our children are watching pornography. Their friends are watching for pornography, and encouraging them, you know, and constantly checking, like I said, check their web browsers, check in with them, see what they're watching, see if they're up in the middle of the night on their phones, and who are they talking to. These are just some of the tools that you can use to help protect your children.
Absolutely.
And sis, can I add to that too, that these also can be applied to the gaming systems, because a lot of the children are communicating with people through the headphones through these games as well. And
Yeah.
another person pointed that out in the comments. The gaming as well is very serious, because we have these games where little kids are playing with grown people and they're communicating. So it's very dangerous out there.
Yeah,
and can we? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
absolutely. That's so real. And actually, I had a situation like that where my son was playing a game. I think it was Roblox at one time. And this was last year. And he was playing with someone, and they joined him, and it was an adult. And I said, "Who is this?" And he said, "It's my friend's uncle. He just plays with us. He plays with all kids." And I said, "How do you know your friend is even a kid?" And
Yeah.
you know, your friend could be someone else. And then he said, "Tell your mom, please, let me play with you. You know, I'll talk to her. You know, I'm just," and I said, "Muhammad, if he's a grown man, why does he need to play with you? There's other adults that can play with adults." And my son, he was just like, "No, he's my friend." And I said, "Predator grooming."
Yeah, incredible.
He's my friend. He's my friend. My son, he just didn't want to listen to me at first. And we were actually inside of Home Depot when we were having the conversation. And one of the workers at Home Depot even talked to him. He said, "No, man, no, buddy, you don't need to be playing with this old man. See, I'm older. He need to be playing with someone like me." So, you know, I got online and I told the guy if he didn't disappear, I was going to call the police, because you have to call them out. I blocked him, and then I blocked the little boy too. And then later my son understood, "Yeah, mom, you're right. That could have been what happened." So,
And since I don't want to not, I mean, this is tips that even work for adults, because a lot of us, both women and men, I've heard it on both sides, are solicited in our inboxes and DMs and sent pictures and inappropriately. And there's some grooming there. There's sometimes so immediate soliciting of sexual favors, or even just what I've seen a lot, at least in the Muslim community, is that there's this guise of like, I want to get married, or I'm interested, and some sisters fall for the okie doke, and the next thing you know, you exchanging things you maybe didn't plan, intended on exchanging. So also being aware of that and how that works, that grooming on the adult side still happens, sis.
Yes, it does. It definitely happens.
It does. It absolutely does. Well, you know, we've kind of hit this is a conversation I can keep going on and on, but we've sort of hit the time for it. I wanted to give honor. I wanted to just say this, because this is one of my. Okay, it says, "I work in a prison, and I'm seeing many cases of men that are there for molesting their girlfriends, wives, daughters, sometimes sons." Do background checks before the marriage. There are many Muslims locked up for child molestation. It's going to always affect our communities. Be vigilant. So this idea of that, a lot of, he works in a prison and a lot of them are locked up for molesting their girlfriends or wives, children.
Yeah.
That happens so much. Yeah, subhanAllah. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being a part of this important topic. We hope that this pivots you into action. Remember, my Buddy Speaks, correct, is the nonprofit organization. Can we drop the website? It's just buddyspeaks.com?
No, it's buddyspeaks.life, www.buddyspeaks.life. And if you're on Instagram, you can follow me. I'm posting daily a lot of information to educate you and bring awareness. It's buddy_speak. Go ahead on that page and like me. If you want to get in contact with me, you can go ahead and join my, follow my page, my page. And I would love to have a lot of support from the Muslim community. I want to hear more voices from the Muslim community, more faces from the Muslim community. I have a lot of support from the non-Muslim community. Come on over. Let me hit those thousands of numbers from the Black community that's bringing awareness, that's not afraid, that's not staying silent. Go ahead and like my page, like a post, share the post, so that we can educate our children and not wait until they become survivors, because we want to be proactive, not reactive.
Absolutely, 100%. And sis, if you wouldn't mind really quickly, I know they asked for the link in the chat. I know someone dropped it. Thank you for those that dropped it. But this is My Voice is My Superpower. What's the easiest way to get it?
The easiest way to get it is if you cash at me, Buddy money sign Buddy Speaks. That's my foundation. $17.99. The $17.99 will covers shipping, and you will receive a free coloring page that goes along with it. And your children will be able to color. I'll show you the coloring page. And this is Buddy and his friends, or if you want one specific for, if you have a daughter and you just want her, she's the superhero. We have one for the daughters. We have one. This is Keisha. You can have that one, or you can just have the boys. And I'll ship your book out. I'll ship your book out as soon as possible, and it's an autographed copy of my book. And I also have the body safety rules that I was speaking about. This is something that you can hang up in your home. This is something that you can hang up in your refrigerator to constantly go over. These are one of the steps that helps with prevention education. A child is not responsible for protecting themselves from sexual abuse. Our parent is, but by teaching these body safety rules and developing a safety circle and a prevention team, it's some of the steps that we use to help protect our children. A lot of people that experience sexual violence as a childhood sexual abuse sometimes are raped more than once. They are, raped once, that's not it. So we have to, just because, okay, I've been raped, we're not going to talk about it anymore. We should still, your child is a survivor, still teach the body safety rules so that they can know and understand their body belongs to them, that they're the boss of their body. They're not wrong if someone rapes them, like I felt as a teenager, that they don't have to go and hide because they think that they're going to get in trouble. Or if a child is experiencing some form of abuse, that and their body responds to it favorably, that they're in trouble. And as a woman, a Muslim woman, Allah raised our status. And whether we're married or not, we don't have to experience any form of abuse, that we still have rights over our bodies. Husbands has rights over our bodies, but we have rights over our bodies too. We're not just a piece of flesh. Our Lord is just. Our Lord is love. Our Lord is kindness. Our Lord is the mighty. So we need to continue to have these conversations. We need to continue to have compassion within ourselves and to know what we can do to protect ourselves. Don't jump into no marriage just like that. And if you see a red flag or you feel a red flag, you pay attention to it. If this brother is coming out of jail, why did you go to jail? Let me see.
I'm gonna laugh, but yeah, right.
Yeah. Look at Megan's Law and see. What see, it's a lot of Muslims on that page. There's a lot of Muslims. And don't believe, oh, she was just mad at me and she wanted to she wanted to shoot my ex-wife. She was a bitch. She just was mad at me. No, protect yourself and protect your babies.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely, sis. Woo, yeah. Okay.
And know that prevention is possible through education and awareness.
That's it. And that's what we're doing here today. So we appreciate you guys rocking with us with this conversation. We hope that you continue these conversations in your homes. Support this sister. Again, she's out here fighting here, and she's, you know, I'm just going to say, she's not really getting the support from the Muslim community, as she mentioned. You know what I mean? And that's not okay. We have this issue in our community. We need to address it. You know, we have these issues with our children. We have these issues in our relationships. It permeates through all elements of our life. So we want to make sure that we get behind, like I said earlier, these are the type of leaders in our community. They may not have all the backing and the media and things like that. If you have a platform, put them on your platform. Support them. Purchase their book. It's important. So I just wanted to say that to all of my followers. I just asked you, go buy her book, okay? It matters. All right, bismillah. Thank you so much, Veronique. Hey, girl. Thank you for rocking with me. I appreciate you. MashaAllah. I think Veronique got frozen. Thank you so much, Sister Sharia, for being here. I appreciate you for all your wisdom and love.
Thank you so much for having me. You make it so easy. I love your platform. You're very, it's just like it just flows so naturally. And I appreciate you bringing me back on to provide education to our community.